The air in the mission control center was thick enough to chew. It wasn't just the smell of ozone and recycled oxygen, it was the palpable weight of $2.4 billion and 3 human lives hanging in a silent vacuum 200,000 miles away. Elias Thorne, the lead flight director, sat at the God console at the head of the room. On the massive central screen, a jagged red line, the oxygen pressure for the Aegis 7, was trending downward. It wasn't a catastrophic plummet, which would have been almost easier to react to. It was a slow bleed, a rhythmic, agonizing loss of life-sustaining gas that felt manageable until you realized you were simply running out of road. Around him, the room was dissolving. Mission control, usually a temple of cold logic, was becoming a marketplace of panic. If we don't fire the thrusters in the next 90 seconds, they miss the window for the lunar slingshot. They'll be stuck in a dead orbit forever, shouted the propulsion lead, his face a frantic shade of crimson. If we fire those thrusters with a structural leak in the bulkhead, the vibration will turn that micro crack into a canyon. Countered the structural lead, his voice cracking an octave higher than usual. The ship will unzip like a cheap jacket. Elias felt the heat rising in his own chest. His heart was hammering a frantic, uneven rhythm against his ribs. The noise, both the literal shouting of the specialists and the internal roar of what-ifs, was deafening. He knew that in less than a minute, he would have to make a choice that would either bring 3 heroes home to a parade or leave them as frozen ghosts in the dark. The internal pivot. In that moment of peak static, Elias did something counterintuitive. He didn't look at the flickering red telemetry. He didn't look at the shouting engineers. He looked at his own hands. They were shaking. He realized his brain was trying to process 1,000 variables at once, most of which were outside his control. He was redlining. To save the crew, he first had to save himself from his own biology. He performed a technique he had practiced in high-altitude simulators, the tactical reset. 1. The forced exhale. He pushed every bit of air out of his lungs until his chest felt hollow. This forced his vagus nerve to signal to his brain that there was no physical predator in the room. 2. Peripheral expansion. He consciously looked at the far corners of the ceiling, breaking the tunnel vision that stress creates. By widening his gaze, he physically dampened the amygdala's fear response. 3. The single variable. He asked himself one question. What is the absolute next right move, regardless of the final result? Elias keyed his microphone. His voice wasn't loud, but it had a strange, flat resonance, a deliberate lack of vibration that sliced through the bickering like a scalpel. Quiet, he said. The room didn't just go silent, it went dead. The engineers froze, their breaths held. Propulsion, give me the exact minimum burn time needed for a return. Not the ideal, the minimum. Structural, give me the vibration threshold for that specific duration. We aren't guessing, we are calculating. You have 20 seconds to give me numbers, not opinions. By lowering his own volume, his emotional intensity, Elias forced the room to meet him at his level. The panic evaporated, replaced by the cold, beautiful machinery of collective intelligence. The result of the pause. Working in that newfound silence, the team found a middle path. Instead of one long, violent engine burn that would have shattered the hull, they executed a series of staccato pulses, short bursts that allowed the structural integrity to settle between fires while still gaining enough velocity to hit the lunar slingshot window. 16 hours later, when the Aegis 7 scorched through the atmosphere and splashed down in the Pacific, the world cheered for the miracle. But Elias, sitting in his darkened office long after the cameras had left, knew it wasn't a miracle. It was the result of refusing to let the pressure dictate the pace. He didn't work faster because the clock was ticking, he worked deeper. The anatomy of pressure. Pressure is often an illusion of speed. It creates a false urgency that tells you because a situation is important, you must react instantly. However, high-stakes situations actually require your highest level of cognitive function, the very thing that vanishes when you are in a state of fight or flight. To master the eye of the storm, you must internalize the 3 pillars of the pause. Physiological override. You cannot think clearly while your heart rate is 120 bpm. Use box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold, to manually reset your nervous system. The next step. Filter. High pressure makes us obsess over the ending, success or failure. Calm comes from obsessing over the process. Ask. What is the one thing I can do in the next 60 seconds to improve our position? Emotional contagion. In any group, the person with the most certainty, not the most volume, will lead. Your calm is a tool. Use it to stabilize those around you. The next time you feel that tightness in your throat, whether it's a high-stakes board meeting, a personal crisis, or a deadline that feels like a physical weight, do not rush in. Your challenge: the very next time you feel overwhelmed today, stop for exactly 60 seconds. Do not check your phone. Do not speak. Simply breathe and identify the one task that actually matters right now.